So I finally quit procrastinating on it, and I decided to give Dragon Ball Super a chance after putting it off for the longest. Now, you can only avoid it so much being a DBZ fan and a nerd overall, right? So, of course, I knew about like the transformation, Super Saiyan Blue, the general gist. I've watched like the movies and things like that, but I could never get myself to dive into the manga and anime and actually sit down and see what the whole thing was about. So, over the past few months, I've been chilling with my son and we've been watching Dragon Ball Super, and he loves it. He really does. I got him to watch Z and everything too. So like I'm putting him on to the classics at a young age, right? You know, you gotta indoctrinate him into it early. But he's really into Super. He's got so much enthusiasm for it. And I was online, and this came from such a random unexpected place, but I was watching Death Sentence, right? This guy that does is in Street Beefs, and he was talking with Mighty Mouse, the UFC legend and everything, right? And they're both big dorks, man. They're big into anime, and they were talking about, well, especially Death Sentence being into Dragon Ball Super more. And I thought he was trolling. I'm like, is he actually serious? But it made me want to make this video to really ask the question, which one is I guess which one is better, or to just to have a conversation about how people really feel about this, right? Because in my mind, I'm trying to figure out basically, right? Is it the boomer in me? Is it the old man that's yelling at the clouds saying DBZ is better, or is there actually something to merit Dragon Ball Super being better, or is it just a generational thing, right? And I think that can be a huge part of it, because being honest, man, the thing that you connect with in your childhood is a big deal. And for me, being my age, that was Dragon Ball Z. I saw that very early on as like a younger kid, and I know that influenced and shaped my taste in like such a big way, and it holds a special place for me, as y'all can see with this channel. So I know that there's nostalgia in it, but I also see the quality. You know, like getting older, I can look back on it, and of course there's story elements that are whatever, but like the artistry and even like the characterization and even some storytelling elements, man, like there's a real merit to the reason that Dragon Ball has the pedigree that it still has and everything, right? And I look at Super, and we're going to have a conversation about like some of the differences and things like that. But I think about how for a whole generation of kids, Dragon Ball Super is that for them, right? It's their first introduction into not only just Dragon Ball as a franchise, but maybe even that over the top brand of shonen anime that Dragon Ball presents, right? Where this might be their first foray into like beams and transformations and colored hair, and it makes me wonder if that's why like Ultra Instinct was such a big deal too, you know, where maybe it wasn't really old fans carrying all that enthusiasm, but like a newer generation of like kids and young people that grew up with Super and seeing Goku go through his like Ultra Instinct transformation was their like Super Saiyan moment, or like their Super Saiyan 3, right? So like I'm really trying my best to untangle nostalgia from all of this, right? And just look at what both series do well, but also acknowledge I got a bias, man. I'm an old ass man with kids. I grew up with DBZ, so I'm trying my best. But I just had a few things that I want to touch on about what I feel like the series does well, and what maybe it doesn't do super well, especially in the case of Super, if I'm gonna be honest. But let's just have a convo about it. So I feel like DBZ and Super really do have different intentions, right? Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, like the original franchise, right? Like it's got big gag manga energy and everything. So there's like a lot of comic relief and silliness. And DBZ has that a bit, but there's a lot of melodrama in Dragon Ball Z, right? Like Dragon Ball Z, for the most part, takes itself pretty damn seriously, and so like there's a whole different tone and atmosphere to Dragon Ball Z compared to even Dragon Ball, and especially Dragon Ball Super. And I'm trying to take that into account in my own preferences, because I can tend to be an edgelord. You know, I like edgy series. I like things like Berserk. I like things like Devilman. I like these series that have like a darker tone and a bit of edginess to them. And don't get me wrong, I love a good comedy and everything too, but there's something about that for me. And I feel like the tone in Super is a lot more whimsical, you know. And of course, it can't do necessarily the same thing that DBZ did because DBZ exists. It's its own thing already. So Super is coming off of the back of this massive giant, and it has to find a way to find its place and everything, right? It's got to find like where it fits in, and it's got Toyotaro at the helm, just like a different person, and so it's going to be a different take on things. And I feel like Super, in a lot of ways, goes back into almost Dragon Ball's roots of like gag manga territory. There's like a lot of comedy and silliness and like the over the top nature of the plot a lot of the times, man, where there's these crazy galaxy and world destroying stakes at play, but there's like this whimsy to it where it's like these uncaring, unfeeling gods, but not in like this sinister sense. They're just like, oh, I'm super hungry, so I may or may not decide to spare your world, like that kind of thing, man. And these stakes are played with like a level of goofiness that I think that it's going to depend a lot on a person's personal taste, like what direction, how you feel about this, right? Like if you like it or not, because I think that it's hard, right? Coming from what DBZ is, coming off of the Kid Buu saga, and just knowing you have these seasoned veteran warriors and you know their whole history and everything, and then I come into Super and it feels like a reset. You know, it feels like so much of the progress and who I know these characters to be and the things that they've been through are just not applicable anymore. And I think that can be what makes it hard as a boomer fan, right? Is we have all these history and these built up feelings about like these characters, who they are, who we've seen them come to be. And when you see such a tone shift in Super, you see like things so different, the characters characterized differently. Some people like to argue that they're not, but they definitely are. The Super's take on a lot of pinnacle characters in Dragon Ball, Goku, Gohan, Vegeta come to mind. It is very different. And when you see this, them kind of played for laughs, or them still struggling with like character arcs and things that you know that they've already kind of worked past, or that's been resolved already, it's like it gives you the ick a little bit, right? You're like, what is happening? Why are these characters regressing? I feel like Super has some pretty significant issues with characterization. Goku, man, he's his moron meter is just it's played up immensely, and I know it's been talked about, but it's hard not to say something, right? Because Goku is a hill jack, you know. Like I know in his original Japanese interpretation, he's kind of a hillbilly, right, man? He's out in Appalachia. He doesn't really know much. He's not super worldly, and so much of what he goes through is learning like the ways of the world. That's where a lot of the comedy and stuff comes in. He's not super mannerable, but over the course of getting to know Roshi, Kami, Bulma, he gains an understanding of the world. And he develops, right? He trains, he matures with age, he becomes a father, and a lot of these brash characteristics, man. This arrogance, this ignorance, a lot of these things kind of get beat out of him, like literally and metaphorically, man. He grows and develops as a person, and by the time you get to the end of Z, I'm not gonna say the dude's perfect. Like he goes off and leaves his family to train this small brown child in the middle of nowhere. This and just so he's still wild, right? There's still like an air of irresponsibility and whimsy to the person that Goku is, but there's a lot of maturity, man. He feels wise. He feels like a mentor at the end of Z. And Super, the way it's so nuts, man. Like when I think about character moments about like him not kissing his wife, or just him just like they make him a complete idiot, dude, of like not knowing what like mental training or like meditation is, or like calling it boring, and just some of these other things, man. Like, and don't get me wrong, there's things that it does well. I think that what it does show is like that free nature of Goku very well. Him being a person that doesn't want to be tied down by traditional human crap, you know, like jobs, and just he's never gonna be like the doting stay at home husband type. There's a free will, man. There's a free will within Goku, and I think that can be reflected in a really cool way in a Super, with him not feeling like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders in such a big way, and being able to be the individual that he wants to be and just fight a lot, man. Seth, the editor on this channel, the guy, he does a lot of the videos that you see on the channel. He has a great video about that. And I think that that's very true, that we see Goku at potentially his most unburdened in Super. Maybe compare it. You could compare it to like Dragon Ball in the original series. We kind of see him going back to his roots, and I think that that's so cool. But he also does feel flanderized in a big way too. You know, he just feels like a deconstruction of like just like distilled idiocy fight hobo kind of energy. And it's like Goku's he's more than that, man. He's always been more than that, but especially what we're talking about, him going through all of the events of Z, there are mistakes that he makes that just make me so upset when I think about Super, where I'm like, how did this man let this happen? You know, like I think about getting shot by a laser gun and nearly killed, or just like the way that he continues to play with certain opponents. And I'm sitting here like, brother, did we resolve this issue like 7 arcs ago? What's happening right now? Why is this a problem? And I think that this overall is my exact issue. It's regression, and it's not just with Goku. Gohan, bro, he's the Gohan is the poster child of like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? like that type of energy, where the inconsistency. And on one hand, I think that it makes sense to have Gohan be an inconsistent character, because he's not going to keep up on his training, because he never loved fighting like that, right? But it's not even just him maybe not being as strong or as sharp. It's like they kind of make him dumb to a degree too. You know, he's supposed to be they try to characterize him as like the strategist and the brains behind the operation, but there's also this weird arrogance in him falling for the exact same traps and having the same issues that got him melted in the Cell saga, the Majin Buu saga, and everything else. And it's like, Gohan, dude, what is and not only that, but Super has him literally replaying the same moments. Like I think about that moment where like Piccolo dies, and that Gohan goes through his anger transformation, and it felt like I was being taken back into a time machine, but like worse. You know, like we get like an exact replay of previous events in Z, but done worse, and it's even dumber because we've already been down this territory before. Like, it does not hit the same twice. It doesn't hit the same 3 times, because that's the same plot that happens in the superhero movie, right? Where something happens to Piccolo, and then Gohan, like he snaps, man, and he goes, I was gonna say he goes orange. He doesn't go orange, he goes beast. He goes Jimmy Beast. He goes Mr. Beast mode. And how many times can we relive the Super Saiyan 2 Cell saga thing, man? It's like they won't let this kid grow up, bro. It's like that dude that's like, you get out of high school and he's like 39 now, and all he talks about is like, bro, you remember junior and senior year? We was getting all the hugs. Like, bro, you're 39. Like, what are we talking about? That's what it feels like with Gohan, man. And Vegeta hurts my soul too, because it feels like he's regressed in a big way. It of course he's always going to be competitive with Goku to a degree, but his whole character arc at the end of the Majin Buu saga is number one guy. Like he recognizes Goku as being number one. He knows that this dude is built different, and through that letting go, or through like dissolving his ego in that way, I feel like he breaches a wall that's kept him holding him back for so long, and he becomes a better warrior in person for it. But I feel like in Super, he's back to that same almost like beginning of the Android and Cell saga type energy, where it's like, I can't let Kakarot surpass me. You're a piece of crap. No, I won't work together with him. Oh, but I'll begrudgingly do it because I'm tsundere. Like it's so weird to see him backslide in this way, and it just happens, and it kills me, brother. I think it's the regression that I see in Super that really makes it hard as a DBZ fan to like love it in that way. But this is the thing, right? If you're not coming from the place that I'm coming from, if you're not a Dragon Ball boomer, you don't give a crap. These are just the characters, right? If I'm like 11, 13 years old or like something like that, man, I'm just coming to Dragon Ball for the first time. This is my first introduction to it. These are just who these characters are to me. And it's so much easier to accept that, right, than when you're coming from the place that a lot of us are coming from. A lot of the people that love the channel are coming from, where you're a longtime fan. And it's like, look how they massacred my boy. Like the Godfather kind of deal, you know? So going back to not just nostalgia, but your history with these characters being a big deal and how much you find enjoyment in these, man. And art and animation, bro, Z takes it. What are we talking about? Like, I remember I think later on Super gets a lot better. There are some fights in Super, and I'm not all the way through it, but I'm getting a good chunk through. There are some fights in Super that are beautifully animated, and I know that they still have some old talent coming from the previous series that help out and everything, and you can see it. You can see it, man. But Z overall, like the character renders, the animation of the fights and everything, there are just some fights I see in Super, I'm like, bro, this is gross. Like, it's like watching early Inuyasha. If you guys remember how fights used to look in that show, I won't say that Super is like that bad, but like the choreography just it's not hitting. Like, a lot of the hits don't feel as visceral. Oh man, there's so much talent, man. I think about some of just the way that the characters look, man. The musculature, the fluidity of some of the animation and the major fights in Z. It's not always good, right? Like, I would be sitting here telling y'all a bold-faced lie if I said, yeah, man, do you guys remember Z? There was never any inconsistency. That would be such a humongous lie. There are some infamously bad character renders and animation moments in Dragon Ball Z, and I think that's just a part of the industry, man. You got deadlines and all that other sort of stuff, and like that's a whole thing in and of itself. But Dragon Ball Z on the whole just looks a lot better to me, both just still renders and animation wise. Soundtrack wise, it blows it out of the water to me too. Whether you're talking about the Japanese original soundtrack, if you're talking about the, oh my god, what's the homie's name that did a lot of the Bruce the Falconer soundtrack, that's got some absolute bangers in it too. Such memorable themes and everything, man. And there's maybe a couple in Super. Like, I think the Ultra Instinct theme hits. I'm trying to think, man. Music wise though, it's not as memorable to me, bro. Like, maybe it would be different again if I was coming from a different place with it, but it don't hit like that. Like, I can't remember music in Super like that. Like, the only thing that's coming to mind is like the new episode thing at the end where it's like do 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 do. Like, that's like the jingle that's coming into my head. But as far as music that hits, not the same. I guess Super might have the edge up in comedy. Maybe. I think some of the writing is hilarious in Super. It's genuinely made me laugh a few times, and the ridiculousness of what gets said, and I also think the experience of the cast really shows in Super too, that a lot of these people have been playing these characters for years on years on years at this point. So there's like little nuances in their delivery and performance that aren't necessarily there in the same way in Dragon Ball Z, and I think Super is great in that way, man. Both Japanese and English. I think that there's more accuracy in like some of the scripts because we've just gotten better at that as like a culture, you know, like with taking Japanese media and allowing it to just be rather than doing weird stuff to Americanize it. Like I think of like the infamous jelly donut thing in Pokemon. Like people have gotten better as actors and actresses. We've gotten better at scripting, so I think that comes out better in Super. And then my son loves the curse words. He thinks it's hilarious. And so it is what it is, man. But when I'm taking it as a whole, man, and we can close the conversation here and we can open this back up another time. I would love to hear from you guys about it because I think that there's a lot that you can dive into within this conversation. I think a lot of it is going to depend on your age, to be honest, man. When you made contact with Dragon Ball is going to dictate a lot about how you feel when it comes to DBZ and Super. But for me, man, Dragon Ball Z animation and art, soundtrack, the impact of like the story beats, it hits in a crazier way than Super does. And Super has its moments, but there's just like so much goofiness, man. I think about like how weird the Goku Black arc is and like how it could have been really cool, but it ends up just falling flat for me. And just there's a lot of conversations to get into, man. So I look forward to hearing from y'all. Let me know in the comments what you think about this conversation between DBZ and Super, and I'll be catching y'all in the next video.